In my last video, I showed off my current guitar collection. Many of the guitars I plan to sell here pretty soon. And in this video, I'm going to be showing off a bunch of my other instruments, because I'm going to sell a handful of those as well, and thought I'd keep them for the showcase before I throw them online. So, many of the other instruments in my collection right now, I actually acquired recently, as I had them growing up in Montana. And when I recently drove to Montana, I brought back many of my old instruments here and there from my parents' house and brought them to Chicago. Some of them I don't play very well, but never really had them in the past 8 years when I've really gotten a head start on music here. But they're neat to have, and maybe they'll serve a purpose here and there. So, let's take a look at a couple of them. Some of them I play on a regular basis, and some of them I barely even know how to play. But I'll start with the one that I play the most out of any of the instruments that I'll show in this video here. Also, there are a few instruments that are simply too big to fit into this shot here. Can't quite put them on the weighted blanket, which is on my kitchen counter at the moment. One of those instruments being my electric piano, which is definitely the instrument I play the most of. But, yeah, we'll do these smaller, easier to handle instruments. First instrument here. This is a Schecter Riot 5 bass guitar, Diamond Series. It's a 5-string. This bass I've had for almost 7 years. I've only ever owned 2 bass guitars in my life, and both of them were 5 strings. And the first one was not a very good bass guitar. This one's also not the greatest bass guitar, but it is definitely had a lot of playtime out of it. It's very comfortable for me, which when I first started playing was one of the most important things about choosing an instrument, is something that feels good in my hands. So good weight, good depth, good scale. The tonality of it is kind of limited to certain sounds and genres and styles of playing. I play in a math rock band called Origami Button, and this bass guitar works great for playing a lot of crazy lead lines and making a bass guitar less about the foundation and more of a eclectic rhythmic instrument. It has EMG pickups. Got your volume and tone, bass, mids, and treble here. I almost never play 4 strings. I'm not used not having a bottom string to rest my thumb under when I'm playing with the other strings. It feels almost handicapped. It's a 24 fret, but I can barely even reach the 24th fret, and there's even less application for it for, writing. I made a switch to bass, despite primarily being a guitarist and studying guitar for years and going to college to study guitar. But the bass felt like I could write more. It was easier for me to come up with ideas that made a song more rhythmic and dynamic, because guitar is very showboaty and there's many different ways you can approach it. But I feel like it's harder for me to address my musical ideas to another bass player when I'm playing guitar. I'd rather have the setting the other way around, where I can kind of let the guitarists do stuff that's more crazy and attention-seeking, while I can kind of be the harmonic and rhythmic drive of the song. I played this so much, you can see the lining along the frets are all kind of dirty and filthy and covered in gunk, caked up sweat. I like the wood grain style of the guitar, but I would like something that's a little bit more universally appealing, like just a solid black bass guitar. But the design reminds me a lot of Les Claypool's bass, his Washburn from Primus. He's one of my favorite bass players, and was one of my favorite bass players at the time of me acquiring this bass, which is why I got it. I'm not much of a bass slapper. I do sometimes, but my styles as a bassist, I feel, is leaning more towards kind of 80s R&B, smooth, low end, not attention seeking, but also tonally specific, a lot of high mids. One of these days I'll get a new bass, but it'll undoubtedly be another 5-string. But until I acquire enough money to do so, I will hang on to this one. Deciding what order I want to show these in. I think I'm going to start off with some stringed instruments like the bass. So this next one here is, of course, a banjo. This is one of the instruments that I acquired from my folks' house as of recently. It's very metallic sounding, very twangy, as you would imagine a banjo sounds. The just take these 4 strings and tune them exactly like the top 4 strings on a guitar, E, B, G, D, so I can play it the same way I play a guitar. It's just how my brain works, and there's no reason for me to not play it that way. It's got some dust kind of chilling underneath the strings, because it doesn't get much dusting under there apparently. I feel I've never actually recorded with this banjo before, but if I can get some new strings that sound good, I think I might consider doing some lo-fi kind of acoustic sounding material that could consist of banjo. The body of banjo is like a snare drum. I could theoretically take the strings off, take this nut off and this latch off, and just play it like a snare drum if I wanted to ruin my banjo. You can put a strap on the banjo, but you need kind of not a strap like a guitar strap, it has to have hooks. A lot of banjo players also play with a pick that wraps around your thumb, like a nylon, like side pick almost. But I just play with a regular pick or with my fingers. Yeah, that sounds very rusty. These strings haven't been changed in over 8 years. When I was in high school, I used to play songs for chump change at the farmer's market, buskin' if you will. And one time I brought the banjo with me, even though I really didn't know how to play it. I was just kind of making up my own little songs on the banjo. I guess it's just cool to see someone have a banjo, because it's somewhat of an unusual instrument, despite everyone knowing what it is. I have a couple of those unusual instruments to show you. This next one, however, is a pretty common instrument. It's a ukulele, as you can see. It's the Diamond Head brand here. And it's a pretty cheap ukulele. It's almost like the kind of uke that you get at Walmart, but at least it works. And this little uke here, I acquired about 6 years ago when an old friend of mine, still my current best friend, was studying directing and screenwriting and just film in college. And I used to do music for student films, and I did music for his, and his music was music themed, so I served as music director and wrote and recorded the music. And one of the main characters plays the ukulele, and this is the actual ukulele that was used by that actress in the film. And it's a cheap one, and she didn't know how to play it. And to be fair, I really didn't even know how to play it at the time either. And I still don't really play uke much, but it is a fun sounding instrument. This one's a little cheap, but you can also you can invoke a lot of similar moods on a regular guitar that you can on a ukulele, if you ask me. You can make some very sad songs, some very aggressive ones. Have the nylon strings here. Wood body. if I was to get a better ukulele, a quality one, I might consider playing it more, because this one's kind of dingy and can't really get any good sounds out of it. But it's the only one I got. Alright. This next one is an instrument that actually belonged to my brother that I grabbed from my folks' house, and I actually don't know how to play it, and I can't learn because it's broken. But I'll show it to you anyway. Yep, it's a violin. My brother played violin briefly in school, so the parents had one, and it just was left in the closet for years and years, and I thought maybe I'd grab it on my way to Chicago, see if I could do something with it. And these pegs here are both broken and do not hold these two middle strings at all. And there's no point in me trying to fix it, so if I'm lucky, maybe someone at a pawn shop will buy it cheap. Or I can just come across somebody who knows how to fix violins. It also didn't come with a shoulder mount either, so I couldn't shoulder rest, whatever you call it. Couldn't even comfortably play it if I wanted to. The bow for this instrument is also in really bad condition, but never really got a good look at a violin close up before. Just a well-crafted instrument. Simple. You can still see this tape marking the frets when he was young and learning to play. It's miraculous that violins don't already come with frets, because I feel those are a necessity. Yep. This next instrument does not require a neck mount there. This is also an instrument that I had a brief interest in learning, but never really got far with, but definitely noodled with here and there. Yes, this here is a Celtic harp. Celtic harp. It's a pretty quiet instrument, so I can kind of pluck away at it. The Celtic harp has all of these switches here where you can adjust the tension of the string to alter the tone if I wanted to. On the opposite side a symphony. All the switches are on the bottom that you can adjust, manually in real time while you play, because you are pretty limited to the key that you're playing in. Sounds like there's a dog barking outside. My neighbor's dog is crazy. I like the design of this though. It does look very Celtic to me. Get that in the shop bedroom. And then, I don't know if you can tell, but there's a string missing. It's high B here. All the strings, well, not all of them, but they're marked by color. So C are all in red, and then F, all the blues. It's like your 1 and your 4. With your other, you got your D and your E, G, A, B, all on the clear strings. I like the way that this harp looked so much in high school. I was in a woodshop class, and I built and carved out a harp of my own. But the harp didn't work, or didn't sound good. But it definitely looked like it was made by a high school junior with no woodshop experience. But I spent a lot of time on it, and it did look very similar to this one. There was another band in my high school that was a temporary interest project for a Christmas concert, and I considered playing the harp for it, but I was never really good enough to do it. But I remember coming to class with this harp, unbeknownst to me that it was not nearly loud enough to hear. But this is another one of the instruments that I grabbed from my folks' house that's been sitting here all these years, but I'm not so sure I'm going to sell this one. Right. That's the last of these stringed instruments. Let me show you some of the electronic instruments here. Starting with this guy here. Yeah. This is the Akai MPK 249. I guess I ought to turn this around here. Yeah, just deciding on the perspective of how I want the video, but I think I want this angle because it'll be like my last video. So here we go. The Akai MPK 249. This is a MIDI keyboard, MIDI controller. And there's a lot to it. It's got a sample pad here. You can control the banks within your DAW. Control just editing stuff. 6 years ago. And I like it mostly for the feel of the actual keyboard itself. The keys are weighted similar to a actual keyboard, but they have a little bit of give and you can move pretty quickly between them. Before I got this keyboard, the keyboard I was using primarily prior to it only had an old school MIDI in and out. It didn't have USB because it wasn't developed by the time that USB was commonplace. I don't like working with those cables, but it is nostalgic just to see those ports in case you had the option. Got two jacks here, one for an expression pedal, one for a sustain pedal. I also have an Ableton Push 2, which is a MIDI controller workstation built specifically for Ableton. It technically can be used as a sample pad in other DAWs, but it's built specifically for Ableton. And I got that the same year that I got this, but I didn't play the Ableton nearly enough. It was fun at the time, but I also don't really consider that an instrument, so I didn't include it in this video. But maybe one day I'll show off something specific with the Ableton Push, some stuff that might be neat. Just gotta press all the buttons. I have another keyboard to show you. Another digital keyboard with that. I have a handful of other keyboard related things, but this next one here, a little more in there. This is the Roland Juno TI mobile synthesizer. This keyboard I've had since high school. One Christmas, my dad bought me and my siblings a bunch of musical instruments. He bought this more for my sister to learn, but she didn't really have an interest in it like I did. I really had the most interest in all those instruments that we got that year. But this keyboard I took with me to college and was the only keyboard that I had for years. Right over here you can see a sticker. It has my name on it, my phone number, my old address in the event that this keyboard ever got lost or stolen and could be returned to me. Not likely, but it could, you never know. But this is the keyboard that I had before I had the MPK 249. But this one is better for its just bank of sounds that it has. Some of my really early recordings of Toloro music was made with preset sounds on this keyboard. It has capabilities to use a vocoder if you plug a microphone into it, and you can play out your vocal sounds with the notes performed on the keyboard. I never really had much use for it, but I've tried it once or twice. It's got a bunch of built-in sounds, and it's got an envelope, so you can adjust the transients here. You can adjust reverb, resonance, attack and release. I didn't really understand any of this growing up, but I would always use these now. I'm a tinkerer of tone. I don't really like how this keyboard plays, to be honest. The keys are very light and easy to press. Easy springs, and they're also dimensionally, they're just smaller than a standard keyboard too. I have fat fingers that don't quite fit between these notes that well. A lot of the synth patches were really cool. A lot of just distant presets in the bank. Once you go beyond the first 40, which are somewhat normal, you always get to the weird sounds and the sound effects that aren't as common but were more interesting. It has a lot of just percussion and sound effects and other random stuff on the keyboard. I used to just record songs playing the drums on this keyboard. A lot of videos that I used to record for Instagram of me playing songs, covers, originals. A lot of the piano stuff was pretty much done on this keyboard right here. It's got the old MIDI in and out. Oh, it actually does have a USB. Alright, I have another instrument with a keyboard. However, this instrument is nothing like the other two keyboards. This here is an accordion. It is a pancordion, to be specific. Has all these different slots, different reeds that you can use to adjust the tone and the harmonics of the accordion. There's one key here that's a little bit looser than the other keys. This was another instrument acquired from my folks' house that I had in high school, but I didn't really know how to play. There was a guy from my high school who actually did play the accordion and was really good at it. And he also used to busk at the local farmer's market. But I remember one time I brought the accordion to school to show him. And he was very excited about it. But I also didn't really know how to play, so there wasn't a whole lot we could do. I have a basic understanding of how to play every single one of these switches here. These little black dots. They're all different chords. So you have your major chords and your minor chords, and your 7 chords and your diminished chords. And they're organized by the circle of fifths or circle of fourths, depending on how you look at it. So this middle one here with the indented circle is actually middle C. So you can see the other C chords exist in this plane of chords here. So you have like G and you have F along with it, so on. It has this latch so you can unplug the accordion, or unhook the accordion, and it extends in and out. If you think that just because it has a piano-like keyboard that you could play this like you'd play a piano, you couldn't be more wrong. Just in general, even the hand posture, the position of this keyboard, for me is very complicated and throws me off. I guess I'm right-handed, so from my perspective, it would be more like this, where your left hand controls all the chords on the right, while your right hand controls the melodies with the keyboard. There's the switch right here that you can use to decompress the accordion. You also shouldn't actually lay out the accordion like this for extended periods of time. It's actually not good for the accordion. Ideally, you want to have it resting like this on the chord button side, but just so you can see the whole accordion. I guess placing it down for a little bit isn't too bad. You can see the little watermark here. Accordion Incorporated. Got the address and the serial number here. It's a very heavy instrument. There's another fun little electronic instrument that you don't see very common. Looks pretty inconspicuous here. This little box here is actually a theremin. This antenna here the length of it itself controls the pitch and tonality of the theremin. It detects disturbances in the airflow around it, because waves are everywhere. So the closer your hand gets to it, the more it alters the tonality of the signal that passes through here digitally. You can use this little knob to also alter pitch. This little box actually made its recording debut on the most recent album that I recorded. On one particular song, I needed some kind of spacey sounds, and this theremin, which was actually a gift from my dad that I thought I would never use, is now something that's starting to show some promise. And all it is a little black box with one wire and an output jack. What more could you need? I've actually played the more legitimate Moog Theremins. They're actually pretty cool, and there's a little bit more to them, and you can have a little bit more control over those. instruments that I've been playing for the longest time. This here is a saxophone. This is an alto sax. It's one of the smaller, more high-pitched saxophones. And this is the first one that I played. And this is the saxophone that I played in elementary school. But eventually in middle school I moved to tenor saxophone and personally preferred that one. I did try baritone saxophone, bari sax, for a little while, but it was just too big and too much to deal with. But this alto saxophone also made its first recording debut on this new album, and I hadn't played it since high school, and I just picked it right up and felt pretty fluent. I played saxophone in marching band. I played it in jazz band in middle school. I think saxophone is actually one of the easiest of the woodwind instruments to play, because I've also tried oboe and some double-reeded instruments, and single-reeded instruments are not only easier, but saxophone I think is easier than flute and stuff like that. But I initially wanted to start playing saxophone after seeing the high school jazz band play at my elementary school when I was very young, and I thought that was really neat. And saxophone is instinctively a very jazzy instrument, so I thought to join the jazz band and pick up saxophone. And I remembered seeing the band play the song "I Want to Be Like You" from The Jungle Book, a movie I loved growing up. And when I first got this saxophone, I was just playing that song, trying to teach myself it over and over again, probably bothering everybody in the house. Just bought some fresh reeds for this bad boy here. I think this saxophone was actually a rental that we just never ended up returning, because they just never asked. Yep, might start playing it a little more these days. This next one is really not even an instrument I know how to play at all. It's really mostly just for decor, just for novelty. But I thought I'd show you anyway. This is an ocarina, specifically the Ocarina of Time from the video game The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, which was, well, not was, still is my favorite video game of all time, and the music from which is very inspirational to me and spawned some of my earliest interest in wanting to pursue music. But even though I have this ocarina, I've never learned to play it. Barely even tried to learn to play it, really. But it seems very difficult and doesn't sound anything like it does in the video game, which was created with a MIDI flute and not an actual ocarina. There's a lot of different holes to cover up with your fingers here. Something similar to an oboe, but it just sounds like a lot of loose air jumbling around in a piece of glass. It doesn't sound that great, but it does have the crest real simple instrument for you. This is a tambourine. Even though it's just a percussion instrument, this tambourine in particular has been recorded a lot on records throughout the years. It's not the best sounding tambourine, but it has a good feel to it, good motion. Sometimes it just hurts my hand trying to get the right rhythmic flow, shaking it back and forth. But I got this at Guitar Center. It was more expensive than I thought it would be, but then again, it is Guitar Center. Yeah. Tambourine is a very important instrument in musical composition. People underestimate how much a song can be influenced by a good tambourine part. It has to really fit into a recording well. It's not easy to do, and it's not easy to play it and make it work. Alright, this last one is just kind of for fun. It's kind of silly. This is a slide whistle. This was just a little novelty gift. But despite it being really simple and kind of a joke instrument, it actually has gotten some amount of use in recording here and there. But also something that's kind of just a wall decor, basically a toy. But that right there is my whole instrument collection. I have a drum kit and some stuff with the drum kit that I guess could be considered percussion, but I thought I'd just leave it all intact. Maybe one day I'll show where the drum kit is in the basement. But that's pretty much it. A lot of these instruments will probably be in possession of somebody else by the end of the year, or just whenever they get sold. But thanks for checking them out with me, reminiscing about